And away we go. Another edition. Picks and roll. I feel like it's the second half of the season after what took place last night in Las Vegas. Although we're not quite just there yet, which is a good thing for the Sixers. All right, Sean Bray, Sean Barnard. Sean, how we doing today?
Can't complain. I did enjoy, I guess, a little bit of an underwhelming final in that NBA Cup last night, but regardless, still some decent hoops. And I don't understand why we have a full night off from the NBA slate today. So disappointed in that, but ultimately can't complain. A good morning, doing well.
All right, well, I'm going to complain. And I would say that let's just start off with this. And we're going to get into the game. We'll talk a little bit more about the big takeaway from last night's game, if there is anything. To me, I think there's more to take away from the standpoint of the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think they're going to gain something more from losing that game versus the Milwaukee Bucks, who refused. Oh, yeah, Doc. Yeah, because come April, when you blow a 3-1 series lead, we're all going to look back on the fact that you refused to have a good time in the locker room and pop some bottles of champagne after the NBA Cup final. Oh, that's really going to play out for you down the road. Again, it's just ridiculous, but we'll get into a little bit of that as well. I want to open up with the fact that, to me, the league, the NBA itself, has the most negative fans.
Yeah,
out of any professional league. And that's saying something, man, because there's a lot of negativity in this world, and specifically in social media and definitely with sports when it all connects. But man, there's nobody more negative than an NBA basketball fan on social media. And look, Sean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's a perfect format and a perfect situation. The NBA Cup, rah, like, do you respect the cup? Like, we have fun with it. I thought it was good. I think it's something you could build off of. And I know, like, there are people out there that are like, oh, well, you're trying to turn it into soccer. And yeah, there is a little bit of that. It's something different other than the fact that what you're seeing is 82 regular season games and then a second season. And then you hope and pray that you're healthy enough to make it through. And then maybe you might get to an NBA finals or an Eastern or Western Conference finals. Other than that, the NBA is saying, you know what, let's try something different. And I got to give them thumbs up on that, on the attempt itself to put something together the way that they had. Again, it's not perfect. I think it's good, though. I think it's something they can build off of. Had my attention. And let me just finally end on this, and I'll hand it over to you. Because everybody wants to lose their minds over the NBA All-Star Game. And the big issue about the NBA All-Star Game is what? Competition. There is none. It's just a free throw line, or not a free throw line, a warm-up line, dunks, three-pointers, and there's zero competition. Dude, if you watched the semifinal, the knockout round, these games had high competition. There was some battling going on the floor. So you're getting highly competitive NBA basketball in December, and yet you people out there, it's not good enough for you because the jerseys are ugly and they don't match.
The courts.
And I tuned into a game and the courts are too bright, or you're doing it in Vegas. You shut the league down. Like, you guys are whiners, man. If you just watch the product on the floor, that was damn good. Last night, dud. Saturday was good.
Yeah.
And then the knockout round, as I said, there were a couple good games there. Last year, there were good games. This is something they can build off of. Then you people are so negative. It's like sickening sometimes. It really is.
Yeah, it's been more of a success than I expected with the Cup overall, and I do think it's something to build off. I thought this year was better than last year, and I think next year can be better than this year, that they can kind of keep trending in that direction there. It is disappointing. The final did end up to be a dud of a game that they're really, the Thunder just shot themselves out of that game and were never able to get any sort of consistent production, particularly from beyond the three-point arc. I mean, that was their lowest scoring output of the season and the worst they've shot from three on the entire year. So a tough break that had happened on that stage in that moment there. But as far as the negativity conversation, what I think is unique about NBA fans specifically is it feels like there's like this such direct, like, linear relationship with players in a way that other sports are. Like, for example, James Harden here, there's very clearly people that are James Harden fans, not necessarily a fan of a team. And when he goes to the Sixers, they're with him. When he goes to the Clippers, they're with him. And I don't really think that there's a parallel to that. Like, when that happens in the NFL or a guy gets traded teams, it feels like we don't see, Aaron Rodgers fans all of a sudden coming Packers fans to Jets fans. So it's always kind of strange to me how that is the case there. I guess basketball is more of like an individualistic sport where, one player can make that much of a difference, but it does feel like there's a different lens that NBA fans view sports through compared to other sports.
Well said. Yeah, I would say like the one-offs in the NFL, like Mahomes. I think he's built up a fan base. Of course, if he goes somewhere else, Brady, and even then, that's tough because I don't know if you became a fan of Brady if you weren't a Patriot fan, right? But I feel like it has changed. When Brady went to the Bucks, there were a lot of people that were Bucks fans because of Brady. Same thing with Mahomes. Mahomes leaves Kansas City. There are a lot of kids out there that love Mahomes, and rightfully so. He's incredible, but you're right. You don't see it from Jalen Hurts. Let's put it that way. I don't see many Jalen Hurts fans out there that aren't Philadelphia Eagles fans. So it is interesting you bring that up. I don't know, man. Like I said, to me, if the players didn't take it serious, right, and the level of competition did not change whatsoever, I'm probably singing a different tune. I'm probably not saying it with my chest. But dude, come on, man. Like you want to kill them about the NBA All-Star game, and to a point, they do deserve a little bit of slack over that. I think the players more so than anybody because they've let it down over the years. And to me, I just think get rid of the NBA All-Star game. And then until we get an opportunity down the road where people will lose their minds going, oh, bring it back. We're going to change the way we play. And then that will be a good thing. Build off of this. This is good. You got high level competition in the beginning of December. And is it perfect? No. The stopping of the season, obviously, people don't like that. But I got to give credit to the NBA and Silver and everybody because there's a reason why they're doing that. So everybody has the equal amount of rest off, if I'm correct, right, Sean?
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that it's kind of a fluid schedule. You don't know exactly who the teams are going to be, obviously, when the season starts. So you kind of got to leave a gap so you can fill it in with whatever teams are necessary there. So it takes some juggling. It's going to lead to a little bit of a backup. The Sixers, for example, here, I believe, have still played the fewest games of any team in the NBA at this point in the season. So that's going to lead to a crank up there. But regardless, they've done a decent job of being able to juggle this in a way that I was kind of skeptical of at first.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. All right. Anything else? Well, we'll come back to it because I got some other things I want to get into. Let's go ahead and dive into what took place though last night. Milwaukee and OKC in a dud of a final, but that's why you wager on these games, man. You could cash in. Hopefully, you were listening to the Daily Ticket Picks and Roll last week when we gave out Giannis plus 550. Again, not going to sit here and say that I was beating my chest over it because there were still at that point in time 6-8 teams left, but you saw the path. 8 teams. You saw the path for the Milwaukee Bucks, and I remember when the light bulb went off, and I said, "Wait a minute, MVP, you got to win this whole thing. If you don't win this thing, you're not going to win the MVP." And Giannis at plus 550. That was a nice play right there. Hopped on that little sprinkle, nothing too crazy. Essentially had a play because of what we discussed here. But yesterday, heading into that game, as we broke it down in the Daily Ticket, plus 235, that was a no-brainer. You could have got even money from the Milwaukee Bucks standpoint as far as money line was concerned, or a little bit more, plus 130, I think it was. But Giannis plus 235, that was an error. And essentially what it was built off of the fact that, yes, the odds makers didn't see Milwaukee Bucks winning the game. But they did. And hopefully you were listening yesterday, and hopefully you said, you know what, screw the game. I'm just going to take Giannis at plus 235. He ran away with the MVP award. He was the best player all tournament. And let's go ahead and start with the game real quick as far as that is concerned. Stayed under the total. Your big takeaway, I know you already hit on it, the fact that Oklahoma Thunder were missing some shots, but your big takeaway from the final was what?
Yeah, I think if asked what is the reason for the loss, it is just shooting the basketball. That I think the Thunder had an outlier bad performance with that. I mean, they were held to 14 points in the third quarter, 17 in the fourth. Super uncharacteristic stuff there. Again, 81 is the lowest, or just under. It looked like they were going to break the record for fewest points in a season. That is 80 currently. They hit a three-pointer late in that game in garbage time to ultimately get to 81. So did not crack that record there. But we're looking at their shooting splits. Oklahoma City was 5 for 32 from beyond the arc last night. That's 15.6%. They were 29 of 86 from the floor outright, 33.7%. That's not going to win you basketball games right there. And I was a little disappointed that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander wasn't able to grab the spotlight. And, this is a guy who has some legitimate MVP buzz and is very much being pushed into that next spotlight for one of these faces of the NBA, and deservingly so. He has played up to it in the larger scale, but he did not quite have it last night, so was frustrated there. But I think the storyline to me is this was a grown-up victory by the Milwaukee Bucks. This was something that from start to finish, they imposed themselves. Giannis just so physically commanding on both ends of the floor. Thought he was excellent defensively last night, and I've been a little bit critical of his defense at times, that there's at times I would say a little bit of fake defense, to be honest. That was not the case last night. He was locked in from start to finish, impacting shots around the rim. And I mean, his statistical output was awesome as well, that he finished the game last night with 26 points, 19 rebounds, 10 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks there. So pretty absurd stuff from the Greek Freak. And beyond just speaking about the MVP of the NBA Cup, I think there should be a conversation about MVP of the entire NBA again, because by my money's worth, if the season stopped today, that should be the guy that's crowned that award.
Really? Giannis, MVP right now, you're giving him that award if you had to give it out?
I would, yeah. He's leading league in scoring, 32.7 points per game. Looking at kind of his entire statistical output for the season, he's also adding 11.5 rebounds, 6.1 assists. Has added a little bit of mid-range to his game this year, which has been a weakness of his. Shooting over 40% from the mid-range, still not something that, you're going to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Joel Embiid with that kind of touch. But the fact that that is another level of weapon that he has in his arsenal is something notable there. I think he's been very good defensively and has been the spearhead of this turnaround for Milwaukee. Let's not forget, just a couple weeks ago, we were talking about this team looking dead in the water, and they've been 9-2 in their past 11 games at this point, ripping off wins and look like a borderline contender. So still a lot of season left to be played, but I think like for ready to hand it to the next generation of the Luka Doncic, the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I think Jokic and Giannis have still pretty clearly been the top 2 players in the NBA this season, just as it has been the past couple of years.
Yeah, you're not getting an argument. It's just, look, from the standpoint of if you're giving it out right now, we haven't really, I guess, been, I don't know about fair, but we haven't mentioned Giannis. Let's put it that way. And based off of the bad start, and we, of course, we got a little bit more of a slant towards Doc Rivers than most here in Philadelphia. So we're reluctant to give them a little bit more shine than what they probably deserve. But
NBA they are Cup winner Doc Rivers.
Hello. Hello. I was listening to that Barnard bite when he chewed him out, and he's like, "Oh, I think we know a little bit better, a little bit more than you." And it's just cracking up. It just brought me back to those days.
This is a B-ball Paul victory tour.
Yeah. He's got some gems, man. He's got some gems. 14-11 on the season. Doc Rivers and the Milwaukee Bucks currently are in the 5 spot right now in the East. Yeah, look, from the game last night, no doubt about it, stayed way under total of 216. We talked about that yesterday, and Luke asked the question. It's perfectly phrased at that point in time, where he was like, man, that under is so low. It's almost like they're begging you to take the over. Yep. And there it was. Now, 5 for 32 wasn't something that we probably foresee. Right. The Oklahoma City Thunder going from downtown, 40% from the other direction from Milwaukee Bucks on the other side. But yeah, that was probably number one. Number two, though, watching the game, though, Sean, you're right. Like grown up performance. Yeah. To me, they looked more aggressive. They looked like they wanted it more. Sure, the shots were falling, but even if OKC was making half of those threes, I still would think that the Milwaukee Bucks were winning that game. So I got to tip my cap. They said that they were going to win it all. They were in a spot to win it all. They hit the gas pedal. They beat a Hawks team that was really good. The Milwaukee Bucks were the best team right now. And we'll go ahead and take it from there to, okay, so last year we saw the Lakers and we saw the Pacers. And I think the bigger deal for all of us at that point in time was like, man, are we looking at the Pacers in the right light? Like, and then they went on a little bit of run and had success in the postseason.
Yeah.
Are we looking at the Milwaukee Bucks at this point in time? Of course, Oklahoma City Thunder, sure. But from the standpoint of like the team that you could see taking the baton and running with this more, having success this season, is it the Milwaukee Bucks for you?
Yeah, I'm more open to it than I have been for sure, and I've been pretty critical of the Bucks just generally because it has not looked right to me. I don't think there's been very many consistent stretches where this two-man actions with Damian Lillard and Giannis have functioned as designed or has believed as they believed would be the case there. But in fairness to them, they have dealt with some pretty notable injury hurdles. That really was the reason that they were eliminated from last year's playoffs with both Giannis and Dame getting hurt in that opening round. That was the story in last year's NBA Cup, where I believe Dame was banged up during a part of that. I think that was the hamstring injuries early on in the season or something that he dealt with that kept him unavailable for those games. So if they have a true healthy run, they have as good a chance as anybody. And there are some legitimate pieces there. Gary Trent Jr. adds some of that team. Bobby Portis, an awesome impact off the bench. Brooke Lopez played far better basketball last night than I'd seen him in quite some time in most of this season. That was kind of one of my concerns for this Bucks team, and he looked a lot better last night. So it could be forming into shape. I can hear the case a little bit more than I could have at any point until now. So still have my eyes on them, but they've been impressive these past few weeks and kind of capped that off with a statement performance last night.
All right. As far as the Thunder side of things, and again, it wasn't falling for them, and that's understood. But man, walking off the court, and I saw SGA, and like he was tweaked, like he was frustrated, he was mad. Again, they played a bad game, so nobody's going to be happy. But I think, like, tell me I'm maybe making a little bit too much about this, or do you see where I'm going? Like, to me, sure, the Milwaukee Bucks, you got Giannis, who's already won a championship. You got great players on that team. Damian Lillard, come on. Doc Rivers, I get it. You know, he hasn't gotten them to the promised land or won it all before, but man, a successful coach, right? We can't say Doc Rivers is not a successful coach. So the Milwaukee Bucks are going to continue to play, and they're going to be in competition for the East. And I would have said that before last night. I would have said that's going to be a tough out versus the Orlando Magic in the playoffs. Anybody but the Celtics. If you tell me the Celtics and Bucks are playing tomorrow, I'm going to take the Celtics. However, maybe we might see something different come April. Don't know. But am I making too much that if you ask me who's going to take more from what took place last night, I think OKC. Again, expectations are there. Their coach came out last night and even said as much, like, hey, man, we're going through a tough spot here in December. I like this. This is good. And that's how I came away, like watching those guys walk off the floor. Yeah, they played a bad game, but at the end of the day, that was a championship game, a hat and t-shirt game, champagne if you want them. You're in Vegas. It's a nationally televised game, and you played a bad game. You came up small. I think that's going to work out really well for OKC. Again, they were already a lot of people's favorites to win it all. I see 1,000,001 tickets out there in OKC to win the NBA title this year. Good luck on that. But I'm coming away from last night's game going, you know what? That's probably going to be better for OKC in the long run to win an NBA championship, which everybody puts way above the NBA Cup, as they should. So I think it was a good thing that the OKC did come up short last night. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with that. That I think the more big game experience you can get as possible, the better for this team. And that's what you got last night. Like, again, making all the jokes about the cup or whatever, that was a different stage that this youthful roster just had to step into the battlefield and see how they stood up. Now, they're a better team than they played last night. I feel incredibly confident in saying that. Again, the worst shooting performance they've had all year, the fewest points they've scored all year. And just looking at the record, they're 20-5 on the season. So they haven't had the amount of lows that we expect. There are some real deal decisions that still need to be made within that team, though. Like guys like Cason Wallace, how big is his role? There's a lot of excellent young talent, but you're going to have to make some tough kind of decisions as far as what that rotation is. So I think Mark Daigneault, or I think I said his name right there, is how you kind of working through that exactly there. There's still a lot of questions with this team, but that's a huge step in the right direction and starts with the head of the snake. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander didn't quite hold up his end of the bargain last night. I thought he got to his spots. The shots looked normal to me, but he just did not quite hit. He overall shot 8 of 24 from the field, 2 of 9 from 3 last night. You expect more from him, and he's delivered at a far higher level than that for most of the year. So not worried about this Thunder team and think in the long run they're going to be just fine, but I think it was good for him to get punched in the mouth a little bit.
Yes, I had to Google how to pronounce his last name, and I saw a tweet that popped up on my timeline from a couple of years ago. He said, "Here's how you pronounce Thunder's new head coach, Mark Daigneault's name: Dag, as in dagger, as in Chris Paul hit so many dagger shots for OKC last season. Nault rhymes with malt, as in Whoppers, malted milk balls, or a thick, delicious chocolate malt. Okay, I'm going to Brahms. That's this dude. So Dagger malt, Dag malt, Dag malt, Dag malt.
Daigneault. Dagnall. Yeah.
There you go.
There
There you go. There you go. There you go. We got it. Right. Anyways, OKC, of course. Yeah, I think that they're going to be all right. The shots weren't falling. When's Chet coming back?
Couple weeks still. I want to say like 3 or 4 weeks at this point still. That's kind of a long term that was labeled 6 to 8 weeks when it first happened. So it hasn't been any sort of update that I've seen since then.
All right. Finally, to put a bow on this, your thoughts on not touching the champagne?
I think this was a Doc Rivers special is what this is. I think that he can make that posture statement to the media of we're taking this really serious. And what I think honestly probably happened, and I have no problem with this, is they probably hopped on the team plane together and enjoyed some nice beverages just alone on the private jet, which again, I have no issue with that, as you should enjoy the moment. That's probably my prediction for what happened there, that Doc's going to love to lean on the image of, well, we're taking the season so seriously, not doing all this kind of stuff and keeping that within the walls of the locker room.
Yeah, I thought so too. I didn't know that. I thought they probably went out in the town a little bit. I mean, you are in Vegas, but you know, I like where your mind's at as well. And if Doc Rivers actually would give Doc a little bit more credit than that, if he said, you know what, we're hopping back on the flight, we're going to get back to Milwaukee, relax for a day, you know, enjoy a couple beverages on the flight. I like that. That's not a bad move. But yeah, maybe it's a little over the top with the champagne and the goggles and all that, and that's their right. But to sit there and say that these teams aren't taking it serious because they choose not to celebrate, come on, man. I don't know.
And for the trophy presentation last night?
I thought the trophy presentation was a little thick. But
agreed.
Again, this is what you have to do, right? You have to do it. If you're going to do it, you got to be full throttle. I don't think you can. I don't think you can do it both ways. It's either like, are you making a big damn deal about this? Is it a big deal to you, the NBA? Yes. All right, then this is what you got to do. You got to treat it as such. Again, nobody wants to hear it, but they understand it. It is from the world of soccer. And trust me, as a soccer fan, it took me a long time to get there. A long time. I'm still not even comfortable half the time. You talk about Manchester United and all these great teams that are out there, and then next thing you know, they got to play in Europa, and then they got to play in this cup, and you almost need like 4 different lineups to compete in all these tournaments. Right. But guess what? When you do get to a final, it means something, and this pays. This means something financially for those other tournaments. It will get you into the Champions League and so on and so forth, which is a huge deal. But at the end of the day, this is what they have, and this is the only thing they can offer you. And I think, you know what, $500,000 goes a long damn way. I saw Damian Lillard say he's going to hook up the people that work on him, the training staff. That's awesome. Good for him. That's great.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I won't lie to you. As I was watching the trophy ceremony, it did go through my brain of like, all right, this is getting out of control.
I agree. I said the same thing.
But to kind of a question about this. So I would say a surface level soccer fan that I watch every so often, not certainly a guy that follows a ton of it. Isn't what makes those tournaments unique, like being able to play teams from different leagues and, you know, having an opportunity for teams from Spain and, you know, teams from Italy to face off in England and all that type of thing? That's generally kind of the case for those soccer style tournaments, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of that, right? Europa League, absolutely. There's some teams from other countries that you're playing. You know, even for the MLS, you have the US Open Cup, which you're playing like the teams that are under you. So yeah, there is that. But I think in the big picture, you are like the Europa. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on these other tournaments that take place throughout the course of an EPL league. But if you win those leagues or those tournaments, you get a berth into the Champions League, which is the best of the best from a team perspective. And that, you know, you in that opening round, you could be very well playing Ronaldo or, you know, Liverpool or Messi, whatever it is. Well, Messi plays for Inter Miami now, so that's not the case, but it's a huge deal. So yeah, there is a little bit of that, but you're right. What are you suggesting? A G League get involved?
No, I'm more curious if in Adam Silver's brain and kind of the long-term plan here, because we clearly see the emphasis on, you know, overseas presence and, you know, having globally like that. If there is an attempt to kind of tie that together to where maybe they play a team out of Spain or a team, you know, out of China or something like that. I have nothing to suggest that is the case, but I'm curious if like in the long-term game plan, if that's something they have in the back of their minds.
It's a great call. It'd be cool. It's another layer that they can add in. Again, you and I are looking eye to eye, and we say, hey, man, they thumbs up. They got something here. Good for them. It's not perfect, but build on it and hear what people are saying. And if their take is, it was just terrible, you're trying to be soccer, then don't listen to them. Don't listen to them, because there's too many of those people out there that exist. And then they're the same ones that complain that it's stale and nothing changes. And it's like, get me to the playoffs. Like, dude, like, I'm sick of hearing about the playoffs. I'm sick of it. Like,
people love to complain.
Yeah, they do. But I'm sick and tired as a Sixer fan. Like, I can't focus on the playoffs. Why? So we get a series if we're lucky. That's it. So we need to enjoy the regular season. And how do you do that? With stupid stuff like this, A, and then B, hopefully you get a good regular season from your team. Unfortunately, Sixers are struggling right now.
Yeah, and by the way, I got waxed out of that U.S. Open tournament when I was younger. I do remember playing in that on the soccer pitch there. Yeah, it did not go well for my team there.
That's funny.
Real deal.
All right. Just to let you know, too, from some Sixers conversation, I did see that they announced Hubie Brown, Hubie Brown, ESPN, 91-year-old Hubie Brown will call the final game of his career. The great Hubie Brown, February 9th, when the Sixers visit the Bucks. A little tie in there. I had a little funny, quip and said that Embiid is already ruled out. Paul George is questionable. So I thought that was good. But look, Hubie's legendary and 91 years old, still sharp as a tack too, man. You listen to him call a game on the radio, he still got it, dude. 91 years old, still got it. What a career. Hubie, I had moments where I'm like, man, this guy is still calling games, but like that was, decade plus year ago. And then, just eventually year after year was like, man, like coach knows a thing or two, like shut up. And man, just be impressed by the fact that this guy is still doing it at that age. And we all would be very lucky to live until we're 91, let alone call basketball games until we're 91. So that's pretty cool stuff there.
Yeah. By the way, he has seen every single season of NBA basketball and been a part of it in some way, which is pretty crazy to think about.
Get out of here. He's been a part of it?
Yeah, I believe so, because he started off, he was pretty early. He may not have been through the first couple of years. At the minimum, like the NBA is younger than 91, they're going on right around 80 years now. So Hubie Brown's been in it for the long haul, man.
Dude, salute the great Hubie Brown. All right, Sean Barnard, let's have some fun here and wrap up shop. We did a good Sixers hit yesterday, so I don't want to revisit a lot of those conversational points. But first and foremost, Sixers back in action on Friday. They are taking on the Hornets again, which is a good thing as far as where we're at right now, and the spread is down, so they took it off the board. The expectation on who's going to be suiting up for the Sixers on Friday?
Yeah, Paul George should be good to go. He played without the brace last game and seems to be fully out of restrictions at this point. Tyrese Maxey, good to go as usual. We did get the update yesterday. Jared McCain did officially have surgery, so that's probably the latest breaking news from a Sixers injury perspective, but not that he was expected back anytime soon either. They did not release the terms of the surgery as far as whether this was the meniscectomy or, a meniscectomy. There we go, getting that out there, or it was just the cleanup repair type thing. So that obviously impacts the timeline quite a bit. They did not release that information just yet. Wouldn't shock me if the outlook is just, let's see how things go the next couple weeks before we give any sort of timeline for Jared McCain specifically here. But something to watch there. But yeah, I would expect the same starting lineup that we saw earlier this week against the Hornets, and pretty much all hands on deck based on the hands that we do know are available right now. No Joel Embiid.
So the Hornets play tomorrow, and they'll get them back-to-back in Philadelphia. So, again, another opportunity for the Sixers to win a game, and that's all we need at this point in time. Then they go on the road to take on the Cavs on Saturday, Spurs on Monday. Ooh, I might want to get to that game. Sean Barnard, what are you doing Monday?
Work till 6, and then who knows?
Wemby? I'll go see Wemby.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
All right. Let's lock that one in. We'll talk over the weekend. All right, good. I like that. And I haven't been to a Sixers game this year. How about that? But I would definitely go see Wemby. That's for damn sure. All right. From the Jared McCain, one quick note on this. I talked about it. I don't think you were on the show just yet, but do you remember when he hit his head twice?
Yeah.
That was terrible. And then he got up, and then everyone thought he was woozy, and Paul George got him.
Yeah.
That was his knee that slipped out. That wasn't him. Yeah, like again, it was probably a combination of both, right? But that was crazy because you thought Paul George stepped in because he was woozy and like, whoa, dude, he's got concussion. Slow down there, youngin'. But no, man, then that was his actual knee, and who knows? But wow, that's a terrible break. But hopefully, surgery, obviously, like you said, went well, and he'll be back. Is he done for the season in your mind?
They haven't announced yet. I think probably the outlook is like it's going to be probably around 6 weeks ish at the minimum that they're going to basically see how these 6 weeks go and say like what is the risk reward here, the value of bringing him back to this team, and what are our goals for the season at that point in the year. A lot is going to be determined over that stretch whether or not this team is staying afloat or if this truly does go to disaster mode for the season. So I think it's a little bit of a wait and see approach right now.
All right. We'll close up shop with just some fun stuff here on the way out. Again, DraftKings Sportsbook showing us Boston plus 240, OKC plus 370, Knicks 10-1, Mavs 11-1, Nuggets 14-1, Warriors 15-1, Bucks 17-1, Cavs 17-1. Then we jump up to the T-Wolves and the Suns at 25 and 28-1. If I removed Boston and Oklahoma City, give me one from the East, give me one from the West that you have your attention on.
I'll start from the West, and I do think this is kind of an outside the box call. The Phoenix Suns, to me, should be considered in that contender category. That I do believe there's something there with Kevin Durant, with Devin Booker. Bradley Beal isn't quite the Bradley Beal that we need. We continue to hear some of these Jimmy Butler whispers, which certainly would, in my mind, would improve their outlook there. They're still trying to upgrade that team and fully put it together. Nurkic has absolutely been a weak spot for them, but it doesn't get much better than a 1-2 punch of Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, man. And I do think it means something that this team has bought in more defensively this season, the way that they're playing. I just have my eyes out that I do think the Phoenix Suns could be in that mix there. Now, the East, I think, is far weaker. That to me, I think there's a much wider gap between the Celtics being one and everyone else there. But I guess I'll stick with the Milwaukee Bucks conversation of I'm not entirely counting them out. I did kind of going into this year, so I'm more open-minded about them, and I'll still throw a little love to the Philadelphia 76ers too, man. If it all breaks right, the chances aren't zero. The chance of it breaking right may be zero, but we'll see how things shake out there.
I'm going to let you say that. All right, 14 and 11 right now are the Phoenix Suns, currently in the 6th spot. The Clippers got something next to their. Did they have a new logo? Did I miss this?
They changed it coming into this year. Not a fan?
Did I miss this? Like, I guess I did. What? I don't know. I it's the first time I've seen it next to the name like that. Yeah. What is it? Is it a bullseye?
It's like it looks like a ship.
Ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't understand really the relevance of it, but this was kind of packaged with like the new arena and, the rebranding, the Intuit Dome, all that type of thing. So yeah, they rolled that out this year.
All right. And I
jerseys look solid.
Yeah, the jerseys. I saw the jerseys, but I always liked their logo earlier. Whatever, it's a new dome. I get it. All right, cool. And then from the standpoint, what was I saying there from the West side of things? Again, Thunder at the top of the chart, 20 and 5, Grizzlies, Rockets. One quick thought on the Rockets, man. That's again, we looking at them to package and make a move here, and then we are going to be looking at a somewhat of a different team. They've had a great start to the season. The big takeaway for me, and then you saw them against Golden State, and I know that they weren't able to win the game against OKC, but defensively, that's a team that will get you, in the mud. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I think they absolutely need to package some sort of 3-for-1 trade or 2-for-1 trade, a consolidation trade where you are packaging a couple of these young guys for a win now talent. I think it is the time to do that. I'm curious if they or how heavily they get involved in the Jimmy Butler conversations, or if they try and go down that pathway there. But there's just too much talent here. And frankly, I think just about every other team in the league should be circling both the Houston Rockets and Oklahoma City Thunder for which players can they not keep a part of their core here. For the Rockets specifically, the Amin Thompsons, the Tari Easons, even a guy like Cam Whitmore, who's of course went to Villanova, and we know here in the Philadelphia area, that's a guy who's barely touching clock for them. And I frankly think would on a lot of other NBA rosters. So I think there is, to an extent, too much young talent that it would be of their benefit to make this decision for who is the true part of our core, kind of trim the edges there and really go for it. But it wouldn't shock me if they take this season to continue to evaluate, let these guys fight it out. And then next year is when they really start to make those decisions. And I still think it's fair to assess, like, Jalen Green is probably the biggest question mark for what is the ceiling of that team. He hasn't looked particularly good this year. And I'll say, like, perhaps even more concerning is you can just get a drastically different player on a night-to-night basis. There will be stretches where he looks like every bit of the all-star level talent guard that you expect. And then there's stretches where you're like, you can't win with that guy on the floor there. So Jalen Green's certainly somebody that I have my eye on for what is his future, or how do the Rockets view him, I guess. But I do think they absolutely need to make a deal and kind of trim up that roster.
All right. Great job across the board, Sean Barnard. Oh, yeah, as far as the Phoenix Suns are concerned, the one thing with Jimmy Butler is Bradley Beal will be on the way out. His salary matches.
Would have to.
But is Beal going to say, I'm cool, let me go to Miami? I don't think he will.
I mean, if we want to flash back to when the first Bradley Beal trade talks initiated, is that Miami was his desired location there, or at least a spot that he wanted to. I think he would have a larger role down in Miami, as far as like Jimmy Butler would basically be walking into being able to do Jimmy Butler things of playing defense, rebounding, and doing some of the scrappy stuff. Bradley Beal is basically playing that way right now, and I don't think he's ever been tailor-made for that to be his role there. So I don't know what the vibe is behind the scenes, or how he likes fitting in that system, playing like that. He still has injury concerns as well. But from a financial standpoint, they both would absolutely have to be involved in that. And I will note also, Beal's got a no trade clause, so that he would obviously have to be involved in these conversations. So curious how it plays out. But I think that there's a, I would say, relatively decent chance that actually happens, which I'm kind of shocked to believe that at this point.
Interesting stuff. It's the NBA.
Yeah.
All right, negative Nancy's out there. The NBA in-season tournament is over. We respected the NBA Cup right here on Picks and Roll. Great job across the board, representing the squad from DraftKings Sportsbook, Sean Barnard. We did the takeover multiple times, got people going. Great job by DraftKings rolling out the fact that they gave you the double up promos for all the games. And, of course, tonight, no NBA action, so no King of the Court. So we get to relax a little bit and enjoy some college football. Bowl season rolls on. But, of course, we'll be back at it, talking all things NBA later in the week. Sixers back at it on Friday. And I look forward to hitting them all with you, Sean Barnard. All right, great stuff. Continue to follow Sean on socials. That's Sean_Barnard1. That'll do it for us here on Picks and Roll. And as always, if you missed anything, you can get it over at foxphlgambler.com.